Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Randana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Randana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Paramahamsa Purudikacharya Ashtotar the Shishiman's Divine Grace Shila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Purudikacharya Ashtotar the Shishiman's Divine Grace Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, Haribo. Hello? Hello? Phone. You can sit over here? Because that's the ladies' side over there. That's ladies over there. There's men over here. We got side. You can just pull. You can just pull that over. The book. Take the book too. You got book there? I can see. You're blocking it. Not your fault. And phones. No phone. No phone during the class. Okay? Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just to confirm. 21? Marcy. Oh, it's in the wrong place. Yeah, we definitely did 20. All right, we'll do 21. Oh, this is on page 208. Page 208 in your hymnal. 208. 208. Text 21 of chapter 4. Okay. So, on this 20th day of May, 2019, in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 4, entitled Transcendental Knowledge. Text number 21, page 208. Nirashiyata chittatma Chaktasava parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kuvanapnoti kilbisham. Time out. Damana Kumar, you with us? I guess not. All right. Nirashiyata chittatma Chaktasava parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilbisham Nirashiyata chittatma Chaktasava parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilbisham Nirashiyata chittatma Syatkasava parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Go ahead, Jesse. Nirashiyata chittatma Chaktasava parigraha Shariram kevalam karma Kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Word by word meanings. Nirashi, without desire for the result. Yata, controlled. Chitta atma, mind and intelligence. Chakta, giving up. Sarva, all. Parigraha, sense of proprietorship over possessions. Shariram, in keeping body and soul together. Kevalam, only. Karma, work. Kurvan, doing. Na, never. Apnoti, does acquire. Kilbisham, sinful reactions. Okay. Before I read this translation, I'm going to read the translations of text 18, 19, and 20. Because that's what he's describing here. Such a man, such a person. That person is described in 18, 19, and 20. So just to get context, and we'll read the purport. Translation text 18. One who sees inaction, and action in inaction is intelligent among men, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. Abandoning all attachment to the result of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruit of action, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. And then today's verse, such a human being of understanding acts with mind and intelligence perfectly controlled, gives up all sense of proprietorship over his possessions, and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus working, he is not affected by sinful reactions. Purport: a Krishna-conscious person does not expect good or bad results in his activities. His mind and intelligence are fully controlled. He knows that because he is part and parcel of the Supreme, the part played by him, as a part and parcel of the whole, is not his own activity, but is only being done through him by the Supreme. When the hand moves, it does not move out of its own accord, but by the endeavor of the whole body. A Krishna-conscious person is always dovetailed with the supreme desire, for he has no desire for personal sense gratification. He moves exactly like a part of a machine. As a machine part requires oiling and cleaning for maintenance, so a Krishna-conscious man maintains himself by his work just to remain fit for action in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He is therefore immune to all the reactions of his endeavors. Like an animal, he has no proprietorship even over his own body. A cruel proprietor of an animal sometimes kills the animal in his possession, yet the animal does not protest, nor does it have any real independence. A Krishna-conscious person, fully engaged in self-realization, has very little time to falsely possess any material object. For maintaining body and soul together, he does not require unfair means of accumulating money. He does not, therefore, become contaminated by such material sins. He is free from all reactions to his actions. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this chapter is entitled Transcendental Knowledge. And as we pointed out earlier in other classes in this chapter, what Krishna is describing here is, first of all, why he comes to this world. First of all, he describes the background of the Bhagavad Gita. It's not something new. This is Bhagavad Gita means the song of God, and it's the summary of all of Vedic wisdom in just a few verses. There's only 700 verses in this book. It's expanded by the commentary. So in those 700 verses, Krishna summarizes all of Vedic wisdom. So it's a very valuable book to have. And he says, it's not something new. I spoke it millions of years earlier to the sun god, who then spoke it to his own son, and then it came down to human society, and it's come all the way down to us. But in the course of time, as everything becomes degraded, just by the course of time, and remember, it's like the law of entropy. And so it needs to be renewed periodically. So Krishna renews it himself when he comes, or he has his agents renew it. But he's describing specifically at the beginning here why and when and how he comes and what he does when he comes. And basically what he does is he reiterates or renews dharma. This word dharma is very important. There's several Sanskrit words that have entered into the English language. Dharma is one of them. Karma is another one. There's a whole bunch of others too. Ashram, yoga. So, but what is actual dharma? Krishna says, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata. When there are discrepancies, glani, in the practice of dharma, which is for the welfare of human beings, the whole society, then when it really gets bad, then I come and I reinstitute dharma, protect the devotees, those who are following dharma, and I annihilate the miscreants who are against dharma. So why is Krishna concerned about dharma? Because it's for the welfare of the living entities, not just human beings, but every living entity. This is a basic principle of Krishna consciousness, is that we're all related to the supreme consciousness, or the supreme conscious being, the creator of everything, intimately and eternally. We can't break that relationship. We can forget it, we can act against it, but we can't break it. And it's always there, and the more that we live in that relationship and understand with our superior human consciousness that relationship, the happier we'll be. And there'll be peace and prosperity on the earth. Can you imagine how wonderful that would be? I mean, I've been alive 71 years, and I don't remember more than a half a dozen years or less when there was actually peace on earth. It wasn't some war, usually, I got to say, started by the United States. And it's just, and even in your own life, even if there's no big war, there's so much struggle and strife within human society. And that's a characteristic of this age. This age is known as, what's the name? Not you. The Kali Yuga. Kali means quarrel and strife and discord. That's what Kali means. So how to attain personal peace when all around us there's all of this strife? This is another aspect of this yoga that Krishna is speaking. So he begins by the history of the Bhagavad Gita, explain why he's reiterating it, why he comes. And then he begins to talk about the great benefit of understanding his appearance and activities. There's a verse in this chapter that's like number 2 among all the verses Prabhupada would quote, literally hundreds and hundreds of times in his preaching career, the 12 years when he went around the world. And that verse is, ready for it? We can review it. Text 9 in this chapter. Let's all turn in our hymnal to text 9, which is on page 194. Janma karma chame divyam. No? All right, that's page 194. Divyam. Evam yo veti tatpataha. Tyaktva deham punar janma. Naiti mam eti sojana. Now, I've been rereading Prabhupada's a book called the Prabhupada Lilamrita, which is a wonderful, large biography of Srila Prabhupada, written by one of his leading disciples, Satsu Das Goswami. And describing there in the early days when Prabhupada finally came downtown from uptown. He was in uptown Manhattan, and he was, had a few little guests and everything. But when he came downtown in the mid-'60s, in the middle of the hippie era, he found a ready audience. And the whole presentation was, here is how you can contact the divine, the supreme, through sound. Through sound. In downtown Manhattan at that time, there was a whole community of musicians and artists, one of whom was Michael Grant, who later became Mukunda Goswami, his first really serious follower. And they were very attracted to music. They themselves were musicians, and Prabhupada presented it as music, the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra with whatever drum he could drum up, little bongo drum or something, and they would bring their own instruments and play. It was very attractive musically. So this sound of the Sanskrit has a power all its own, even if you don't understand the meaning. That's why Prabhupada insisted his formal books all have this. It took a lot of trouble and expanded the book and the cost of printing a lot to put this Devanagari, the original text, makes it very authoritative. The transliteration, so we can pronounce the Sanskrit if you learn how, and then the word-by-word meanings, and then the purport. So this is Prabhupada gave it a very kind of weighty presentation. But the wonderful thing is, if you just learn how to read this transliteration, is not that hard. You can experience the same sound that Krishna is speaking to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. It has great potency, and if you understand the meaning, then it sends you over the moon. So, what does this verse mean? Janma karma chabe divya. My activity, here's the word karma again, which is coming up again and again. My birth, my appearance in this world, it's not like an ordinary birth. He's explained that already. Both my birth, my appearance, and my activities are divine, divyam. You can hear the relation between the Sanskrit and the English. Divyam. Evam yo veti, one who understands, veti, in truth, tattvataha. The truth of these two things, my appearance, why I appear, when I appear, and what I do, how divine that is. Then when you chakva deham, when you give up the body, nobody dies. Death is complete illusion, as is birth. What death pertains to is the body only. So the living entity gives up bodies one after another. This is what is called death. I like to say that it's the first thing that happens when you die is that you say, "Hey, I'm not dead." Just like you've heard of near-death experiences. Have you ever heard about them? Where someone gets a heart attack. They're very well known now. Many doctors will tell you, especially in the emergency wards. In fact, there's a lady up in L.A. who works in the BBT. She had one of those. She was hit by a car. She was on the side of the road. She felt herself leaving, hovering over her body until the emergency people came. You too? Yeah, that's why you're here. You're not your body. It's a real revelation. Oftentimes it changes your whole aspect. Because, even if you don't have such an experience, if you come in contact with the philosophy and you believe it, it changes your whole perspective of what the meaning of your life is. I'm just working with these few years, that I'm thinking I have to live, maybe 40, 50, 60 years, but now I realize that's just a snap of a finger compared to my eternal life. So that's what I need to be concerned with. What can I do now for my eternal benefit, not just for the next few years or even the next few days or whatever it is. Expand your perspective. So, here Krishna says, Chakvadeyam, giving up the body. We, the soul, that's what Chakvadeyam means. Punarjanmanaiti, you don't get another birth. That's liberation. What happens to me? Mameti, you come to me. That's the whole philosophy right there. If we become Krishna conscious, we understand Krishna's activities and his presence in everything and in our lives as well. In other words, we become Krishna conscious, then this is our last death. Yes, we'll have to go through some suffering at that time, but even that will be diminished if you're fully focused on Krishna. I just read, there's a lady here, I've been here so long, 30 years. There was once a lady here, she was prominent, her name was Parvati. She came into some money and she inherited something, and she helped maintain a restaurant we had. We had a very prominent restaurant. I think this is before all of your times. Back on 30th Street somewhere, you had to drive about 15 minutes to get to it. And her husband was operating. He was an Indian-born gentleman, and he was a very good cook, and it was going on and on like that. Eventually, it failed, and she moved. She moved to Vrindavan. She's been there ever since. This was like 91, maybe 92. So this is 27 years. She stayed in Vrindavan. She got a little house there, and she was very prominent in maintaining Prabhupada's samadhi tomb. So a samadhi means different things. It often means the full absorption of the mind in the Supreme. That's one kind of samadhi. But a samadhi tomb is where great souls they don't burn the body. In India, they're famous for burning bodies. Prabhupada says they're not so foolish to maintain hundreds of square miles of for perfectly good land for some cemeteries. Waste of land. Burn the body and use the land. Anyway, most people get the body burned, but great souls like Prabhupada don't. And so his body is interred there, right, on our land in Vrindavan, in a place called Ramanreti. And there was a beautiful structure built over it. If you go there, you'll see. So, but like anything, it needs maintenance, cleaning, and all of this. She was very prominent at that for many, many years, for all the years since 1993. So she just passed away in Vrindavan, and it describes some amazing things. How she had this pancreatic cancer, which I'm sure was very painful in his final days. But she was lying there, and the doctors were amazed. She wasn't, expressing any need for painkillers. She wasn't writhing in agony. She wasn't screaming out. She was fixed and very Krishna conscious. It was and of course chanting is going on. Very auspicious. That's perfection. Where you leave your body, and most important, the consciousness you leave in, is everything. But the location is also important. And it's said, because Vrindavan is the place of Krishna's pastimes, if you're able to leave your body, die in Vrindavan, then you go back to Godhead. Yeah. But it's not easy. It's not even people who are born there, if they don't understand or they don't believe, they'll go to Delhi when they get really sick and go to the hospital. To actually stay there in Vrindavan, which is a little primitive. You're not going to find advanced hospitals there. Anyway, it was very enlivening to read that it was a successful life. She was in a great state of consciousness in the perfect place, surrounded by devotees chanting Hare Krishna. So we all have to die, but how you die, what happens? And here, if we study Krishna's life and we understand God and our relationships, and then we can go to Him at the end. So how to do that? It has to do with what we do in this life at this time. All the time that we have certain freedom. We're human beings. We can choose to do this, not this. We can read this, not this. We can hear this, not this. And so that's what the remainder of this chapter is about. How to make your whole life a sacrifice of what would normally you would think with your personal benefit, self-centered activity, rather engaging in God-centered activity. And that's done on the basis of jnana, and that's part of what this chapter is about, what is called transcendental knowledge. Because your understanding, your philosophy of life and your knowledge is what determines what you do, is your activities. If I think it's, if what I know is that if I get together with my friends and go down to the corner bar, I'll have a good time, then that's what I'll strive to do. If I think, no, I don't want to do that because that's going to put me in the mode of ignorance and I'll suffer more ultimately, then I won't do it. But if I have no conception of karma or that, then I'll just go with the senses. We're always having influences. Even if you just sit there and don't do anything, eventually you'll have to move, right? You'll have to eat. Your body is giving you all kinds of messages what to do. And if you get cold, I have to find some way to stay warm, right? So you can't do nothing. That's at the beginning of the third chapter. You can't do nothing for even a moment. But you can determine, in a large part, what kind of activities you perform. And if that's done on the basis of transcendental knowledge, then we'll act according to what Krishna is describing now. Understanding, and we'll just review this once again, what is activity, what is karma, what is akarma, and what is vikarma. Does anyone recall? What is vikarma, for instance? No, that's the akarma. Vikarma, think the VI for vicious activity. Really, yeah, like you have no, Bhagavad Gita, who cares? You know, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Whatever feels good, I'm going to do it. You know, and that can lead to like the worst kind of sociopathy. Do we know what sociopathy is? That's a disease of the consciousness of the heart, where you have no empathy for other living beings. Can you imagine it? The most vicious type of thing. I remember when the crack epidemic started in the 80s, I think it was. You know, and we heard, you know, everyone knows what that is, right? A certain kind of cocaine, very powerful. You smoke it, and it was running through the, you know, the big cities, the lower part. You know, the people who had money, they would just use the regular cocaine. They wouldn't get arrested, but the people who had to smoke crack and run around, they all got. But it was the most horrible thing. And you would read how a mother and child. This is the most basic kind of instinct. You know, even if the mother normally, even if she has nothing, practically she'll feed her last food to the child. She feels tremendous sympathy, empathy, and love for the child. That was being destroyed by crack. People would get into, you know, single mothers, poor people with one or two kids. They would rather pay, you know, the money to get the crack and smoke that and let the kids starve on the floor. Horrible, horrible. Just the opposite is the soft heart of a Vaishnav. Is really human life. Paradukka dukhi, which means feeling others' pain. Not even wanting to give a little insect unnecessary pain. You see it all the time during the summer, when the insects. Now, of course, there's fewer and fewer insects. Have you noticed? I'm telling you, I used to have a cricket problem in my apartment. No more crickets. Yeah, you know, insect apocalypse. We can't live without them. We don't realize that, especially the bees. But anyway, we'll see what happens this summer, assuming that we have more or less the same thing. They wander in on the floor. You know, we have all this foliage out there. It's a garden. And devotees are chanting their rounds, going around Tulsi. I'm sitting here and say, what, Prabhu, what? He says, oh, okay. And they get a little tissue, take the insect, put them outside. Of course, it's very auspicious to die under the lotus foot of a devotee, but still, you don't want to... you don't want to interrupt, you know, the natural course of any living entity's life, or cause undue pain. Why? This is empathy, you see. I'm telling you, reading Prabhupada's biography, what he went through to start this movement, to give this invaluable philosophy and the holy name, the process of realizing the philosophy, to people who didn't know anything about it. Such a struggle at his old age. He had no money. Finally got out of the country. He had one sponsor in Pennsylvania. On the ship, he'd never been out of India. He's not flying on an airline. He's on some cargo ship, and he's getting sick. He had 2 heart attacks. Finally had a dream. Krishna came to him in a dream and says, "Don't worry, don't worry." And he's in the Atlantic Ocean, which is normally, a lot of storms, completely quiet, calm like a lake. The captain said, "We've never seen a crossing like this, Atlantic." Said, "Yes, Krishna has taken charge of the ship." He makes it to New York, Boston, then he gets to New York, and finally he's whisked off immediately to Pennsylvania. It's an amazing saga. How he's writing India, "Please send some money. There's a building here. We can," he had all these God brothers and institutions. Nobody wanted to help him. Couldn't get any money out of India. And finally, he's brought down to the Bowery. Like the people warned him, this is one of the most corrupted places. You've got all these alcoholics on the street, stepping over bodies to get into the loft where he's living. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna singing, And then, after all that struggle, a whole lifetime of struggle, you can read it. Finally he gets a few followers, and in the seed, he plants the seed in the fertile ground of the hearts of the devotees, and by the chanting Hare Krishna, more and more, they're purified and they become his followers. They're experiencing the enlightenment, the simple process of chanting, if we just had faith in it. And the whole thing takes off, and he meets the Beatles and George Harrison, and Hare Krishna becomes a household word around the world, and 108 temples, buildings in India. It's miraculous. Just Prabhupada's life should, increase your faith in that there is a Krishna, there is God. The most amazing thing. But we can also be part of that in our own proportion. So the simple idea is how to act in such a way. Karma is fruit of activity according to the Vedas. It's good, but not good enough. It'll give you good karma, maybe a better birth, and you get a human being. But it still keeps you in the round of birth, death, old age, and disease. It doesn't help ultimately. Vikarma, very dangerous. You lose the precious human life. You have to go down in the species. Who knows how long it'll take you to get back up. Akarma, 3 things. Karma, vikarma, akarma. Akarma means activity that has no result. No karmic result. Meaning it's done as a sacrifice for Krishna. But it puts you in the most blissful, peaceful state. It's not that you lose anything. It's our natural state. It's unnatural to identify with this bag of bones called the human body. Don't love the body, just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for all you think you own. At every moment see that your world totters on destruction, become detached, and learn to love the Lord without obstruction. This is a little poem I made. I didn't make it up. I didn't make the poem up, but it's a verse translation from the Padma Purana. It's just a bag. It's not worthy of worship. You know, all this cosmetics and everything. You know, and, oh my God. And you get to be my age. You know, Botox. Who cares? You know, spend all your attention on this. It's such a tragedy. Yasyatma buddhi kunapeti. Prabhupada quoted this verse 100,000 times. Yasyatma buddhi kunapeti dhataki swadikalatrajasa bhoma ijiti yatirta buddhi sadade nakarjanesha bhigi. Gokara. Now gokara can be, there's 2 kinds of compounds in Sanskrit. It can mean a cow or a donkey, or it can mean a donkey who carries the fodder for the cow. So let's think of that since we revere cows. So if someone thinks that I am this body, who are you? Okay. You know, I'm a 71-year-old American male. I weigh 150 pounds. You know, I got white hair. Yeah. That's me. No, that's not me. Nobody is his body. The body is just a bag with unmentionables inside, with like a structure with bones in it. That's what the body is. It's not you. Isn't it good news to understand that? You're the spirit in the body. You're the Atma. Yasyatma buddhi kunape. Kunape means a corpse-like bag with 3 dhatus, mucus, bile, and air. Do I think I'm mucus and bile and air? Of course not. I'm me, you know. Anyway, so if you think like that, if you're convinced of that, then you're like a donkey who carries the fodder for the cow. Or if you think that your so-called possessions, which are simply things in relation to this body, temporarily, that those are mine. Svadi means the consciousness of possessiveness. If you think that, then you're also like the donkey. And then if you just go to a place of pilgrimage to take a bath, rather than to hear the learned discourses from the people who live there, that's the same thing. This is Krishna speaking on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, but not in the Gita. So how to act? This akarma means to mold your life in such a way that your consciousness, your mind is fixed on Krishna, your intelligence is used for serving Krishna, your senses, both jnanendriya, karmendriya means the eyes and ears, etc., as well as the hands, the voice. All of them are linked to Krishna. And how to do it? Extensive instruction we've been given by Lord Chaitanya and his followers for the modern age. You know, chant the mantra. It takes you like about 15 seconds to memorize it, and then just chant it and hear it. Stop all of the opposition in your brain, you know, kind of stop it. Just hear, chant, and learn from these books who Krishna is and what the whole meaning of the thing is. So what did we read? We read text 20? No. So some of the qualities here of one who is acting in this way, we read. One who's in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. Well, that's difficult, you know. But this is speaking about the Mahatma, the great souls. All the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of knowledge. Abandoning attachment to the result of his activities. Well, that's not easy. You know, normally that's what impels us to act, because we're attached to something. The money, so we can buy this and buy that and buy that. So if we live, we're also reading the Ishopanishad on Mondays, and the idea, yes, you're entitled to what you need in order to live, but it's everything beyond that that causes your artificial bondage to this world. So take what you need to live, offer your food to Krishna, understand his relationship, and then make your life into a life of devotion. You know, that's the whole meaning of this ashram and brahmacharis, and try to actually do it in a lifetime. I mean, I don't regret 1 minute of all these 46 years. 46 years, boy, time flies. Okay, although he's doing all these things, he's not doing anything. He performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of activities. And then today's verse, nirashir. Yes, this word asha means an aspiration. Usually the aspiration is for something material. Either, it can be some position, some fame. It doesn't have to be something gross, but it often is. But if you have no aspiration for that, your mind and intelligence are controlled. You give up your sense of possessiveness, parigraha, tyakta sarva parigraha. You work to keep the body and soul together. Then such a person performs no sin and no fruitive activity. Kilbisham, there's no sinful reactions, which is a great boon. That means you're on your way to liberation. Wouldn't it be good not to have to suffer disease, old age, and death anymore? Okay, one more time. But another 1,000 times? I mean, that doesn't sound good. But that's what we've been doing. Okay, any questions on text 21? Otherwise we'll move on to 22. Yadricha labha santushto. Let's try it again. Can you belt it out, Damodar, this time, along with us? Yadricha labha santushto. Dvanvatito vimatsaraha. Samaksidha basidhaucha. Kritvapi nibadjite. He who is satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing actions. Purport: a Krishna-conscious person does not make much endeavor even to maintain his body. He is satisfied with gains which are obtained of their own accord. He neither begs nor borrows, but he labors honestly as far as is in his power, and is satisfied with whatever is obtained by his own honest labor. He is therefore independent in his livelihood. He does accept engagement. Wow. It should say not. I hope we fixed that at one point. Someone remind me. He does not accept engagement in anyone's service if it might hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. Good grief, I can't imagine how. Boy, that has to be fixed. What printing is this? Just give me a second, because I work on this book. All right, this was printed back in 2013. I think we fixed it by then. My God. He does not accept engagement in anyone's service if it might hamper his own service in Krishna consciousness. However, for the service of the Lord, he can participate in any kind of action without being disturbed by the duality of the material world. The duality of the material world is felt in terms of heat and cold, or misery and happiness. A Krishna-conscious person is above duality because he does not hesitate to act in any way for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, he is steady both in success and in failure. These signs are visible when one is fully in transcendental knowledge. So this phrase, somehow this struck me early on in my Krishna conscious career. Yadricha labha santushto. Let's just meditate on that. Yadricha means what comes of its own, without too much endeavor. You see, the problem is your aspiration and your hard work for material things, which completely absorbs your mind. And if you don't get what you hope to get, you're disappointed and discouraged. And if you do get it, you're jubilant. And both the jubilation and the disappointment bind you, because it's all in relation to your own desire. So if you just try to be satisfied with what comes easily, then your mind can be peaceful for the execution of devotional service. You see the wonderful thing? And just be satisfied. The satisfaction itself is more valuable than whatever you're trying to get. That's an invaluable thing. So labhisva is santushta. So where do you get your real satisfaction? From inside. Like this morning, I'll give you a sample. Hare Krishna. Welcome. Hare. So this morning I was recalling some verses that I'd forgotten for a long time. Not forgotten, but just kind of I hadn't chanted. And so what are they? They're really wild verses. I'll give you. They're from the Krishna Karnamrita. You've never heard verses like this. And it goes, the idea is that this is written by Bilva Mangal Thakur, and he's in the mood of a gopi longing for Krishna. And it's so painful, this separation from Krishna, that the gopi is lying on the ground and doesn't have the strength to chant the long syllables. So all the verses are almost all short syllables. That's background. So here's what the verse ends. Ahamakada kada nikada midamidada Lakshmi. Sadasatada sadasiduha sadashidishi devi. Vadiyupati datikalaha vijaya nijalila mandamudata badana shashi madani moniliye. You ever hear one like that before? All right, everyone repeat after me. Ahamakada kada nikada. All right. So what does it mean? The first big line, and the second line describes the beauty of Krishna's eyes. Okay. So Ahima, you've heard of the Himalayas? Everyone's heard of the Himalayas. You know what Himalayas means? It's actually Himalaya. Alaya means abode, and Hima means cold. The abode of cold. All that ice and snow up in the Himalayas because it's the mountains. So that's called Himalayas. So Ahima is just the opposite of Hima. Heat. Right? Heat. Ahima means heat. Kada means that which does. What makes heat? The biggest thing. Hint. The sun. So Ahamakada is the word for the sun. So Ahamakada, kada. Ahamakada, kada. So what is the kara? Kara is similar to the word karma. What do we perform most of our karma with? Hint. Hands. So much activities performed with the hands. So a word for hands is kara, one of the words. So now we have what are the hands of the sun? Sun rays. So Ahamakata is the word that means sun rays. He's putting all this together. I mean, Bilva Mangal Thakur. And then you have nikara. The word nikara means lots. So now we have lots of sun rays. Okay? Ahamakada nikada. Ahamakada kada nikada. Ahamakada kada nikada. Mridu mridita. Mridu means gently. Mridita means increased. Lakshmi. Now we come finally to a long word, which means beauty. So the beauty of something has been increased gently by a lot of sunshine. Now what is it that increases, the beauty increases gently by a lot of sunshine? The lotus flower. As it grows, any flower increases gradually, but the lotus is growing in the lake, and it opens up, and this to the sun like that. So ahamakada kada nikada midamidata Lakshmi. But what kind of a lotus? Sa rasa tara. So rasa means juice. It means a lot of things. It means the relationship, the nectar of a relationship, transcendental relationship. But it also just means juice. So, or lusciousness. So sarasa means the lotus has been gets the sunshine gently over it, and it gradually increases in this luscious beauty. So that's sa with rasatara means a lot of juice, a lot of beautiful, flower beauty. Sadasatara, and then finally we get to the word for lotus, sadasi ruha, that which has its root in the bottom of the river. Sadasi ruha, drishi. Sadrisha drishi. Sadrisha is like, remember the old, what do we call them? Where you can't speak, but you have to try to get people to guess what you're saying? Charades. So it means, sadrisha means looks like. Sadrisha looks like. Drishi Devi. So his eyes look like the petals of luscious lotuses whose beauty has been gently increased by a lot of sunshine. That's the first two lines. So anyway, I was meditating on this verse, and others like it, this morning. And I'm thinking, this Krishna. It's Krishna's eyes. And then Vraja Yuvati Datikalaha, in the battle of Cupid with the gopis, he's been victorious, and so he's smiling very gently. And this way, and Bilva Mangal Thakur says, Liye, I'm meditating on my Lord who has all of these qualities. So what I'm trying to get at is, this is santushto. The satisfaction for a devotee comes in the intensity and depth of his meditation on Krishna, which is increased by actually acting for Krishna and hearing about Krishna and hearing Krishna personally through Bhagavad Gita. You see? And so then when it comes to material things, who cares? Do I really need fancy clothes? You got the Goswamis walking around in Vrindavan. They don't even have a house. They don't have any clothes. They just get rejected clothes, torn clothes, and walk as poverty-stricken as you could possibly be. No house, no clothes, very little food. They hardly ate, hardly slept, but they're completely santushta. Gopi Bhava, it describes Several of the Goswamis were on the level of millionaires and weren't even like a billionaire today. Raghunath Das Goswami was the sole heir to like a huge zamindar. Zamindar is a landholder in India. They were Vaishnavas, but they were very wealthy. And he was the sole heir. And he met Lord Chaitanya, and gave it all up. He became the emblem of renunciation. He would eat rejected rice that the cows wouldn't even eat in Jagannath Puri, and would clean it off and eat that. He's completely satisfied. He's worshiping Krishna. He's with Lord Chaitanya for 12 years. So the point is that for a devotee, for a realized devotee, the satisfaction comes from within. And all of this external stuff can come and go, and who cares? But for someone who doesn't have that channel open to the reservoir of pleasure, which is in every one of our hearts, then you try to get it from outside artificially, and it's never enough. It's never satisfying. You know. So even those who have a lot of money, they really feel the best they feel, and the most pleasure they get is by giving it away. This is why these very wealthy people, they're very charitable. There's just this one instance. I don't know if you heard about it. There's one very wealthy, happened to be a black-bodied individual. He's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. He just was commencement speaker at this Morehouse College. You know, which is, you know, he said, okay, everybody who graduates this year, I'm paying off your debt. You know, student debt is like this big burden that can last a lifetime. You know, so there's like 400, 500. Yeah, but he's worth $5 billion. He's worth $5 billion. Yeah, he can probably do it every year for the rest of his life and have no problem. 12 million compared to 5 billion. Yeah. Anyway, so, you know, he's probably the happiest he's ever been. Why would he do something like that? Because it's a way of giving back and helping others. You know, that's what is the measure. And Krishna conscious life is a life of helping others, working for Krishna, meaning satisfying his desires. And what does he want most of all? That you help others become Krishna conscious. That you introduce people to me, which will really make them happy. And when Srila Prabhupada was on the planet, we saw it personally. You know, here's this elderly gentleman in failing health, you know, but he's completely blissful. And we're, youngsters, and we're not completely blissful. We're confused and this and that and everything. And the Prabhupada gave us this knowledge, on the basis of the knowledge, how to be yadrichalapasantushto, completely satisfied with what comes of its own accord, because you have this inner source of satisfaction, which you can have anywhere. You can have it, on your deathbed. You can have it in your youthful life. It's always there because it's not based on the body. It's based on your heart. Dvandvatito vimatsara. Beyond the dualities of this world, this is the thing. If you're always being swung back and forth by the dualities, heat and cold, pleasure and pain, do they like me? How many likes did I get? Oh my God, what do they say about me? Why did they print that picture of me? This is a life of anxiety, right? I said, who cares, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So dvandvatito means beyond the dualities of this world. You're situated in your sarup. Vimatsara, no envy, free from envy. Means no enmity toward any living being. Rather, you try to help everyone. Samak siddhava siddhao, equipoise in success or failure. Prabhupada could be seen externally as a failure. His whole, up to like when he turned 69, when he came to America. He tried and tried in India, tried and kept failing and kept going on and on. Because his endeavor itself was the success. Where on the material side, you can endeavor, and if the bridge isn't built, it was all a waste. But on the spiritual side, your effort itself is a success, because Krishna is looking at at your intention, your consciousness, not the result, which may or may not be there. You see what I'm saying? So Prabhupada was successful just getting on the boat, just trying before that, and eventually Krishna gave him so much external success. And that's exactly, siddha means success, asiddha means failure. And such a person is never bound by the activities, because it's all burned up. Whatever karma is, it's completely burned up as soon as you perform it. So this is the ideal, and it's not impossible. We can also start acting that way. Just attending this class, it's not, it's not a movie, it's not a rock concert, certainly not the bar down on the corner. So what'd you get? You didn't get anything material. all his discouragement for material activities, rather. But it's Krishna's words, explained in very imperfectly by myself. But just hearing Prabhupada's purports is in there. No matter what else you do this lifetime, you're coming back as human beings, so you might as well face it and might make the best of it now. Okay, any final questions or comments? We have 2 minutes. I'll give you one of my very, very imperfect poems. Okay, here's one. So tomorrow, we didn't actually do 22, did we? Okay, we'll do 22 then. Sorry, tomorrow. So here's a verse spoken by Madhavendra Puri, and then we'll stop. Kama dinam katina katita padita dhuni deshas. Tesham jata mayana karuna natrapano pashantihi. Utsrijayatan atayadupate sampratam labdha buddhis twamayatak shadanam abhayam mamni yung swatmadasye. In how many ways have I sought to obey the seductive demands of my wicked desires? They've shown me no mercy. Yet on I've gone, shamelessly trying to quench lust's unquenchable fires. But now I'm rejecting these hellish desires, for my higher intelligence now has awoken. O Krishna, O shelter of fearlessness, please let me serve you with faith that will never be broken. And on that note, we'll adjourn for the kirtan. Now Krishna, we're going to see Krishna in his beautiful deity form in just a few minutes. So you're all invited to stay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.